welcoming you to the wonderful world of Clancy's Irish Pub. Len Barney here, the Football Hall of Famer, and I got to tell you something. It is such an honor to be here. Talk to me a little bit about what brought you into the game of football.
Well, the inspiration I had for making particularly the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I'm grateful, I'm humble, and amazingly blessed. And however, when playing the game, you're concentrating on becoming the very best player you can. You have to be an astute student of the game, an outstanding team player, and always studying plays and working very hard in practice.
And the way the Lions played in practice, executed into the game, what a great win against New Orleans. And you know what? The eras of football has changed tremendously. How did you deal with that when you played for the Lions?
Well, playing with the Detroit Lions during the era in which I did, from 67 through 77, I had Coach Joe Schmidt, who was the head coach, and Jimmy David, who was the defensive coordinator, who played with Joe from the 53 and the 57 championship. But Jimmy David taught me about the man-to-man coverage, and that has to become more difficult for NFL players today. Before the 80s, defensive backs could only bump and run off the receiver's routes, play man-to-man coverage, and required skilled cornerbacks. And, you know, the whole thing brought out a good opposition for playing either zone defense or man-to-man, and I really loved playing man-to-man, meaning if my man, who I was covering, went to the restroom, I would be there to give him a tissue.
I love it. I love it. And you know what, Lem? The way the Lions played yesterday, and just going off the page here, how did you like Matthew Stafford and his composure on the field?
Well, as a former quarterback from 33rd Avenue High School in Gulfport, Mississippi, and went to Jackson State as a quarterback but ended up being a cornerback, I've always admired quarterbacks. Stafford, I think, is just about to reach the status that he's been aiming for. He's finally coming around, looking for the right receiver and making sure he gets it. And he's not afraid to run. We saw him run a few times on last week. So I think Stafford is on the way to becoming one of the NFL's best quarterbacks.
And they did talk about how great the defense was interviewing Darius Slay. Darius Slay is a big play Slay, everybody calls him out here. And he had a couple interceptions a couple weeks ago. What do you think about the way the defense has stepped it up?
I think the defense has made a giant step, a humongous step. They're keeping the offense from the opposers to minus yards on rushing. They're knocking down a lot of passes. I'd like to see a few more interceptions, but I think the defense, the secondary particularly, are playing very good football.
You do get involved in the outreach in the community. What really motivated you to get involved with the Lions alumni?
Well, I really enjoy the opportunity to still be around what I enjoyed all my life, being a football player. And my message to young people, particularly seeing NFL players past, present, as well as in the future, is to be respectful, to be very humble, and if you got questions you need to ask to former ball players as well as active ball players, use the tips in which you receive from these players, work on it, study it, and once you get into a ball game, you can execute it. And to always be grateful for the things you get from people when they ask for it. Always obey your educators, your parents first, be friends and loving one another, and you'll be a good student one time in life.
I agree wholeheartedly. And you know, definitely with younger people, they have to really basically look at people that have had experience, especially younger players. What would you say to younger players that want to play the game? I mean, they definitely are people that are 9-to-5 people. And you know what? How do you do these motivators to help them get to be who they are today?
Well, we have to look at a lot of former ball players and now doctors, they're lawyers, judges, educators, and entrepreneurs, Congress leaders, as well as outstanding citizens. And the whole key to it is don't be a follower, to be a leader, to dare to dream big, and one day your dreams will come true.
Are the Lions going to make the playoffs this year?
If they don't, I'm going to lose to my wife, and that's going to be a lot of money. So prayerfully the Lions will. I think they're on a great road. I think Coach Caldwell and his staff are doing a great job in coaching and training, and the players are listening to them. And under the stroke of the offensive crew and the defensive crew, as well as the special teams, I think they're doing an outstanding job to get to the playoffs.
All right, and that's Len Barney, everybody. I want to say thank you again, and go Lions. It was a pleasure seeing you tonight.
Thank you very much. Great to see you as always.
It's DJ Tammy Lynn spinning some tunes here. We'll be back here on the Indbeat TV show coming up right after this. Okay, we're back here on the Indbeat TV show, everybody, at Clancy's. Happy Monday, everybody. Clancy's Irish Pub here. And I have to tell you, thank you personally, Len Barney, for taking time out of your schedule. It's an honor. And let me tell you, our show is very thankful. We have Ron Bellamy here from the University of Michigan Wolverines. Hey, Ron, how are you?
Go Blue.
Thanks for having me. Pretty good.
Hey, this is kind of fun here. I got to ask you something. Are you really happy about what transpired after the Ohio State game in the college football playoff seedings?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was bummed at the Ohio State game, but being a realist, I understand, what the consequences were losing that football game. Winning, you're in. Losing, you're on the outside hoping for other teams to lose. And, it didn't work in Michigan's favor, but it doesn't take away from a pretty good football season. Now, we're fortunate and blessed to be able to play in the Orange Bowl, play in front of a national televised audience. We'll be the only game that night, prime time. So you could prove to the nation and show to the nation that you were one of the deserving teams. And, all we could do is, try to go out there and put some points on Florida State and, get ready for a great recruiting season and get ready for next football season.
Yeah, I definitely know how Michigan has a little bit of an attitude. If I was Florida State, I'd be very worried because Michigan could beat you in any way possible.
Oh, without question. I know, knowing Coach Harbaugh, he's going to make this game a physical game. He's going to try to impose his will on Florida State early and often. To be honest with you, I think Michigan beats Florida State by a couple touchdowns.
So that means you're pretty happy with the way it's going right now with Michigan.
Oh, without question. I'm a Lloyd Carr guy. I love Lloyd Carr. He's a great man. I love Coach Rich Rod. It wasn't a great fit. I love Coach Hoke. He might have been over his head a little bit with the job. But I think that we finally, got our guy, Coach Harbaugh. He loves Michigan. He loves being in Ann Arbor. And he's such a competitor that it kind of exudes on the kids. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for Michigan football.
And I think having that passion really matters.
Without question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without question. It's you could see, when the kids go in the submarine. I have, being a high school football coach, I have one of my former players is a Wolverine, and being able to talk to him about things, and he's like, Coach, I never experienced this before, and I can only imagine what these kids are doing. You take a 5-7 team and turn them to 10-3. You double your win total in year one, and year two, you win 10 games with the possibility to win 11 games. That's most coaches don't do that their first and second year of reestablishing the culture in the program.
And looking at about, and it really is. But if you're looking at also too about how Ron started in coaching, what was the biggest motivator? Who was the one that got you into being a coach as you are now?
Lloyd Carr, without question. After the University of Michigan, I was fortunate to play in the NFL for 5 years, and once I was done playing, it's like, okay, what's next? That's the hardest thing for guys. You've been playing Little League football, high school, college, pro ball. Now it's what's next? I've been playing football 20 years of my life. And one of the things I talked to Coach Carr, and he told me, you're a coach. I'm like, me, coach? I'm like, that's not where I went to school to be a coach. But Coach Carr told me if he had to do it all over again, he would have stayed in high school. He had been an educator and a high school coach. So I was a little baffled by it. I said, Coach, well, you won a national championship, multiple Big Ten championships. You've changed the lives of a lot of young men. And most importantly, well, for him, is his heart was in it. And Coach Carr told me, you know what? He's like, it's tough. He's like, Saturdays are tough. Your job is predicated on how 17 to 21-year-old kids perform on a Saturday. And he said, it's a lot of pressure, but you can make a bigger impact working with high school student athletes. So for me, I took that as a challenge, and I said, let me see if I like this coaching thing. So I went over to West Bloomfield High School as an assistant coach, and it was awesome. Worked out in my favor, and then I went to Wayne State, got my master's in education, and it's my 7th year. It's been a blessing. And the most rewarding thing for me is to see the young men in my football program to move on, whether they play collegiate football or not, just to see those guys, 24 years old now, just see them coming back. Some of them are starting their own families. Some of them are being ambassadors in their communities. It's quite a blessing.
And that's what it's all about, especially at the University of Michigan. One last thought. Tom Brady, is he the MVP this year?
No, he's not. As much as I love Tom, Tom missed 4 games. He missed a quarter of the football season. He's done some great things. His team was 3-1 without him. I right now I say it's a close running between Matthew Stafford and Derek Carr from the Oakland Raiders, and I will probably give it to Matthew right now if I had to.
Go Lions, everybody.
Go Lions.
Ron Bellamy, everyone. We'll be back right after this here on the Indbeat TV show. Indbeat TV show once again here at Clancy's Irish Pub. I'm telling you, we got people here on a Monday night. And we're going definitely into another realm of sports reporting. I get an honor to have an opportunity to talk to a gentleman that has covered all 50 Super Bowls. Our own Detroit News reporter, Jerry Green. Jerry, thank you so much for coming in.
I'm very glad to be here, Rich.
Jerry, your career started, really, what motivated you to come into this business?
Basically, the reason I became a sports writer was I couldn't hit the curveball.
Okay.
I think every kid in my generation, which, we're sort of super senior citizens right now, every kid wanted to be a professional athlete like BARNEY, Ron Bellamy.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that. I had no athletic skills. And so I did the next best thing. And I liked writing and I liked reading.
And getting the opportunity to work with the Associated Press before had it been something that I thought was very gratifying for you, a stepping stone, shall we say.
I thought the Associated Press was a great journalism school for me. It's practical. I started actually as the Associated Press's Ann Arbor correspondent 60 years ago. It was 1956. And I covered that Michigan football team that year. And
That was a pretty good. You've seen a lot of players.
I've seen a lot of players. I've also seen all 4 Detroit teams win championships, including the Detroit Lions.
Wow, that just got my heart stopped right here. Okay,
I mean,
I'm understanding.
I'm probably the last survivor in journalism who did that.
How special was that 1957 team?
It was a great team, but it was the 3rd time they won an NFL championship in I think 5-6 years, and we expected more happening in Detroit, and it didn't. And then when I went to the news in 1963, I covered college sports for a couple of years, the Pistons for a couple of years, and then I was put on the Detroit Lions beat the end of the 65 season. There was a guy on the Lions named Joe Don Looney who was a little bit rough at times, and he scared my predecessor, and they let me take over, and I got along very well with Joe Don. My rookie year was a year before Lem's rookie year, 66. The timing was, it couldn't be better as far as Super Bowls, because that was the first year of that season was the first Super Bowl.
Wow, how special, and having Lem on and explaining his trials and tribulations of how great football is for his career. He, a Hall of Famer. How special was he to you?
Well, he was an awful lot of fun to write about because he was so spectacular on the field. Even before his first regular season game in Green Bay, where he intercepted the first pass from Bart Starr toward Carroll Dale, he intercepted that, did a flip, a somersault. Before that, I started calling him the supernatural because he was. There was a game in Raleigh, North Carolina, an exhibition game, and Lem intercepted a pass against the Redskins, and he started running for a touchdown. He turned around and waved at the Redskins like this.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And-
That's some
and that was
confidence
Lem.
that Lem
So,
had that.
I mean, that is the kind of stuff, as a journalist, you look for, because it's just fuel. It's what feeds you as a writer, because it makes it colorful, and it's not you being colorful, it's the athlete you're covering being colorful, which is great.
What is the legacy that you give future journalism majors on your opinion of what writing is and how it should be done?
Well, I have great fears for my profession, newspaper journalism, because I think we're obsolescent because of the internet. We've been this way for years, and papers are disappearing. To me, it's scary, and I hate to see it. But I get most of my news reading on the internet myself. I read newspaper sites, and I don't think there's much future for newspapers, actual newspapers that you could sit down and read and hold, as much as the internet. And I think eventually there'll be maybe 6 or 7 national newspapers, such as the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, and perhaps USA Today, which I do not care for much, but national newspapers. But I think that'll be it eventually.
Let's look at what Super Bowl was the best for you to cover, and we'll take that to our commercial break.
Okay, I always think Super Bowl III with Joe Namath was the best, because it turned the future of pro football totally around, because Pete Rozelle, who was the commissioner then, never envisioned what it would become as far as one solid league. And the American Football League owners then, guys like Ralph Wilson of Detroit, Lamar Hunt of Kansas City, they wanted into the NFL. They wanted one league. When Namath and the Jets beat the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III, it turned around the future, as far as I'm concerned.
Everybody, Jerry Green, everybody, we're going to see you back here on Indbeat TV right after this. Time out. Okay, we're back here on the Indbeat TV show, guys. Last segment. Happy Monday. And yes, this is a story that it really touches my heart that I want to share out. It's a message for young players. Always keep your dreams alive. Lem Barney said, always keep that focus. Go forward. We got a gentleman by the name of Jake Pittman. Jake Pittman did play for Bishop Foley High School. Now he's got a direction he wants to go. Let me ask you, Jake, what is it about baseball? I hear that you're a better hitter than you are a pitcher. Why is that?
My confidence level in the batter's box is just way higher than it is on the mound. I feel like, during the winter we go into batting cages and just always, work on staying inside the baseball, making sure, when it's an outside pitch, you want to drive that ball to right field, and staying inside the baseball is, that's important. That's what my coach, Buster Sunday, he always preached that, so, yeah.
That's exciting. And Tammy, you know what the thing is? It's all about motivation, right?
It's all about motivation and inspiration. And Jake, I want to ask you, who inspires you and why?
I'd have to say my dad for sure. He's always pushed me to get to the higher level, and he always told me I have good potential. I'm good, but I have the potential to be great. So I just have to give that to my father.
He's in the crowd.
He is.
It's good to see you tonight, Derek. You mentioned something about swagger. Bryce Harper
Yes.
for the Washington Nationals. Why him?
Well, I just feel like he has that. Some people might call it cockiness. I don't call it cockiness. I call it swagger. He plays every pitch, every inning like it's going to be his last, and that's what I like about him. He gives it all out, and he's just a great hitter.
Well, let me ask you, what steps for you in the near future? Don't you think maybe you could see yourself in a Major League Baseball uniform someday?
If I keep working,
Tigers.
you know.
Detroit Tigers?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
Nationals,
Yes.
not Nationals, but Tigers.
Detroit Tigers for sure. That would be, man.
That would be good.
It would be.
You saw two legends, Lem Barney and Ronald Bellamy, and you saw a legendary writer in Jerry Green. What did you learn about them?
Just chase your dream. Chasing your dream, you know. You always have, everybody has potential. You know, it's just whether you want to bring it out or just say, hey, I don't want to do that.
Well, that's good. That's why I brought you on, because you know what? Everybody has a crossroads in life, and I think that you have something that you could give to the community, and your dream can come true. Jake Pittman, thank you again, everybody.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to two people. Well, it's really two organizations. Play Place Autism, that we did this event for. Thank you very much.
Children's Play Place.
And yes, Tammy, I'll tell you, Kohl's Department Stores. We have executives in the crowd. I want to say personally thank you.
Thank you to Kohl's.
And you know what? We will see you next time here on the Indbeat TV show. Good night, everybody.
Have a great one.
Hi, everybody. Rich CURBELO with Indbeat Sports. Kurt, General Manager of Clancy'S Irish Pub here in Clinton Township, and also Lem Barney, Hall of Famer for the Detroit Lions. Dreams do come big.
Yes, dreams can come true, and it can happen to you. Remember, dare to dream big.